So you may have experienced an injury to your shoulder due to a vaccine, and you're wondering if you're eligible for compensation in the Vaccine Injury Compensation Program. And what I can tell you is during consultations, I look for certain criteria, and it's the same criteria that the government looks for, when they're deciding whether to award compensation for a SIRVA case. And that includes that you received a covered vaccine, first of all, because only certain vaccines are covered under the program. Examples of some vaccines that aren't covered under the program currently is COVID-19, as of the time of filming this video, shingles vaccines, certain pneumonia vaccines, rabies vaccines. Those are not covered under the program. Second thing that I look for is the onset of your symptoms. So in order to be eligible for compensation, the onset of your SIRVA symptoms should have occurred within 48 hours of the administration. And when I say symptoms, I'm talking about pain, range of motion, weakness, all in the area of the shoulder. The other thing I look for in SIRVA cases is some kind of diagnosis along the lines of shoulder inflammation. So we look for bursitis, tendonitis, a rotator cuff injury, frozen shoulder, something along these lines, something that can be attributed to shoulder inflammation. The other thing that I make sure of before we proceed any further is that we're within the applicable statute of limitations. So in the Vaccine Injury Compensation Program, regardless of what your injury is, you have to file a petition within 3 years of the date of onset of your symptoms. So when we're talking about a SIRVA case, usually the onset is going to be either immediately or within the first couple of days of receiving the vaccine. So if you're coming up on 3 years from the date that you received the vaccine, you're approaching that statute of limitations. If you received your vaccine more than 3 years ago, likely you're going to be beyond that statute of limitations and be barred from filing a petition. So one of the first questions that we ask is, when did you get that vaccine? Now, a couple of other issues that pop up during SIRVA cases is, did you have any prior shoulder injuries that could maybe explain your symptoms? And usually when we talk about prior injuries, we're talking about something close in time, within 3 years of the date of vaccine. And if you've had a prior injury that required an MRI or significant treatment, maybe you didn't get full relief or resolution of that prior injury, and it may be explaining some of your current symptoms. That's going to be a reason for the government to look more closely at your SIRVA petition. And then the other thing that that I make sure of is that we have consistent medical treatment for your SIRVA injury. Now, not everybody is going to run right to the doctor after they experience something like this. What I find is that most people wait a couple of weeks, maybe even a month or more, to see if this is something that's going to go away. Because the last thing you're thinking is after you get a vaccine that you're going to have long-term issues in your shoulder. However, we do like to see some early treatment, or at least some kind of report in some medical records that your pain started with this vaccine that you received. And after that initial visit, some kind of consistent treatment or consistent reports to medical providers of your ongoing symptoms and the symptoms that you're experiencing. And the reason this is important is, in order to be eligible in the program to file a petition, we need to prove that your symptoms persisted for at least 6 months. So there's got to be records early on, and then at least some after 6 months showing that you have persistent shoulder symptoms for you to be eligible. So these are all things that I look for during consultations. And the reason I look for them is because it's exactly what the government requires in these cases. So if we meet these criteria, it's that much more likely that we'll be able to get compensation for you. So if you think that you meet the criteria that I just laid out, I'd encourage you to contact us for a free consultation, and I'd be happy to discuss your legal options with you. You can call us at 312-578-9501. For more information about what happens during a consultation, watch this next video.